I just want to go where everybody else can go. That's not too much to ask, is it?
Russell Smith is 40 years old and has muscular dystrophy, a muscle wasting disease that has no cure and gets progressively worse. But while it restricts what he can do physically, Russell's mind still has a very keen sense of adventure.
There's so many places that I want to go, so many things that I want to see, but physical barriers just get in the way. Even a 6-inch step is like a 3-metre wall to me.
It drives this team nuts as well, so they've decided to do something about it. With the help of some clever gadgets, they plan to get Russ to places he couldn't normally go. Not only is he going on some incredible journeys, you can too, because the people filming his exploits have an ace up their sleeve. They are specialists in the creation of augmented and virtual reality experiences. And by simply scanning a series of QR codes using a smartphone or tablet,
gosh, look at that.
You will also be able to immerse yourself in the location and its artifacts, as if you were actually there. However, don't reach for the tech just yet. There will be time for that later. For now, just enjoy getting high with Russ. This time, Russell is going up a tower. This one to be exact, which is part of St Mary's Church in the centre of Warwick. St Mary's is one of the largest churches in Britain and sports an equally impressive steeple. At over 53 metres high, or 174 feet in old money, it offers an incredible view of the town and countryside beyond, which the general public can enjoy if they fancy tackling the 160 steps up this spiral staircase. For those with a decent pair of legs, it's not that daunting. But if you are confined to a wheelchair, it's a completely different matter. In fact, Russell would have more luck shinning up a telegraph pole than tackling the tight, twisty route. And that's why no one with a disability like his has ever been to the top. But maybe that's going to change today. And it's all down to some lumps of stone.
We'd obviously been monitoring the condition of the tower for some years, and small pieces were falling off. Not regularly, but they were causing a danger, and the council rightly declared it a dangerous building, so we immediately had to take some action.
The tower is constructed from locally sourced sandstone. While this was a convenient solution for the builders back in the day, the stone itself is quite soft and porous. Fast forward 3 centuries and the weather has taken its toll. All 4 elevations needed repointing, and in places, whole sections of stone have eroded so badly they needed completely replacing.
We estimated the total cost would run well over £1 million. So we needed to get the fundraising going really quickly, and we managed to approach not only national charities, but local charities. As time went past, the funds grew, and we got to a point where we were absolutely sure that we would be able to fund it.
The restoration work began about 18 months ago, and it's now nearly finished, along with a bill of around £1.8 million. But how does all this benefit Russ? In order to contain any falling debris and allow the workmen access to the exterior stonework, the tower had to be clothed in scaffolding, complete with its own stairway. And that stairway created a unique opportunity, which this man was eager to capitalise on. Meet Greg. Him and his other half, Julia, head up a company called Eve Access. They specialise in getting wheelchair users into places that they normally couldn't go, helping a few famous names along the way.
We got Stephen Hawking into an underground cinema for private screening of the film The Theory of Everything, and Colin Pillinger could not get into his own building, So we were called in to provide a solution to get him in and out of the Royal Astronomy Society, Piccadilly.
In fact, Greg's got gear to deal with just about every obstruction. And when it comes to climbing a 10-storey staircase on the side of a church tower, he reckons this, the S Max Cellar, is the tool for the job. It's been designed to cope with confined spaces. And that's crucial because although the scaffold steps are a conventional shape, they are not as deep or wide as a normal staircase. Plus, the turning points at the top of each flight are much tighter. Not only is the cellar compact, it's also light. In fact, at 40 kilos, it's 150 kilos lighter than Russell's normal chair. Nevertheless, when you add Russ to the mix, the combined weight is still around 100 kilograms, and no sane person is going to physically haul that load up 19 flights of stairs. Fortunately, the cellar has a trick up its sleeve which you'll see in action once the ascent gets going. But before that, it's time to get Russ sitting comfortably, which is a bit more tricky than it seems.
So I'm a bit of an odd shape because I've got scoliosis.
Scoliosis is an abnormal curvature of the spine.
My chair's been custom made for me. It fits around me, there's cushions that I can lean on, and they keep me really secure while I'm moving around. The cellar chair wasn't quite like that, and I didn't think that I was going to fit into it. I've sat in a lot of chairs that are very upright, and they're just not for me.
However, Greg came up with a solution. Using some rather nifty padding that vacuum seals itself to a person's shape.
After an afternoon with the phone company, it was perfect for my needs.
And of course, Russ has to be safe, so it's crucial that he's securely strapped in.
Yeah, I'm just going to get a little bit of air out of it.
It seems that Russ and Greg's team are happy.
Yep.
Perfect?
Yep.
So it's time to head to the tower.
Well, you'll be pleased to know I've never dropped anybody yet.
Greg has estimated the return trip should take around 3 hours, including half an hour at the top to enjoy the view.
There's going to be a bit of a bump here.
Russ has told the crew he's fine with that schedule, but if there are any delays, the trip of a lifetime could quickly become a desperate dash.
There's no restrooms, toilets, so when we get up, we have to get up as quick as we can and get down as fast as we can.
And to add to the challenge, the weather isn't being that kind.
I think you might want to put an hat on.
Yep, it's blowing a gale. In fact, it's just a few days before Christmas, but the team has little choice because the stonemasons have packed up for the holidays, so the stairway is empty. And if you're thinking, why not wait till spring, the scaffold will be long gone by then. So it turns out that this is the one and only day this ascent can be attempted.
All right. Yeah.
It's now 9:15.
I'm ready when everybody else is.
Better get a move on then.
OK, we're just going to start going up now.
Remember, this is a completely alien experience for Russ. On the odd occasion, people might carry him up a couple of stairs, but tackling endless flights of them is unheard of.
You all right?
So when we started the journey, it was quite scary. This sheeting was clattering, the wind was blowing, and it was really dusty.
Many of us find heights disconcerting, but if you're able-bodied, at least you can grab hold of something. Russ can't.
I had one guy at the front and one guy behind, and I was just a passenger.
And it's not as if he's surrounded by solid brick walls, but instead a few metal poles and a floor you can see through. However, Russ soon settled down.
But after we got above the corrugated metal, it started to become a lot calmer, and it was a lot more of an enjoyable experience.
You OK there?
You okay? Yeah.
So, how exactly does the cellar climb? Two 12-volt rechargeable batteries at the back power a 24-volt DC motor under the chair, which is connected to a heavy-duty piston. When the operator pushes a button on the handles, the piston extends below the chair to lift it up to the next step. And if you want to descend, there's another button that gently lowers it. A set of guide wheels at the front lock the main wheels in place until the up or down buttons are pressed, so the chair can't roll off the step accidentally. Simple, but very effective. Variable speeds are possible, allowing it to climb anything from 7 to 23 steps per minute, and it gives a very smooth ride. One set of batches should last for about 25 flights of stairs, based on a passenger weighing around 75 kilos. Russ only weighs 60 kilograms, so they should easily get him up to the top.
Yeah, it's a really great feel.
The team works on. To stay on target, they need to cover one flight of stairs every 4 minutes. And apart from a brief pause to adjust Russ's padding,
That feel a bit better for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
they are on schedule. However, the optimistic mood proves a little premature, because they barely reach the halfway point before discovering that the batteries are already running low.
Battery. Just going to put you forward a minute.
At this rate, they might not get to the top, let alone down again. And the team can't hang around for hours while they recharge.
There's one plugged in the vestry. Just want swapping over.
The whole trip could be in jeopardy. But while Greg and his boys worry about that, let's learn something about the building they are trying to climb.
So the oldest part of the church was built probably about 1150, and that was after the Earl of Warwick had founded a college of priests here, which was in 1123. It's about 250 years later, another Earl of Warwick, Thomas Beauchamp, rebuilt the whole church apart from the crypt and the tower. The next major phase of building here was in the middle of the 15th century, which was when the Beauchamp Chapel was built. And it is recognised as being as one of the finest funerary chapels, not just in England, but in Europe. And then the last major phase was after the Great Fire of Warwick in 1694, which destroyed the nave, which is the main public area of the church, and the tower.
So most of the church that exists today was reconstructed in 1704. Its Gothic style intended as a strong statement that Warwick had recovered from the devastating blaze. Imposing churches usually come with imposing tombs and monuments, and St Mary's is no exception. Take this one, belonging to Fulk Greville.
Fulk Greville was an official for the Crown. He served both Queen Elizabeth and her successor James I, but he was also well known as a poet and dramatist. Now, he was a contemporary of Shakespeare, and some people think that he may have been involved in writing some of Shakespeare's plays. We don't really have any firm evidence for that, but they almost certainly would have known each other.
While you digest that bit of news, Russ is pressing on, passing the point where the clock faces are being restored.
Okay?
Yep.
So on that little bump.
And then the level where 12 heraldic shields are situated.
Those shields represent historic Earls of Warwick, thought to have existed before the Norman conquest.
The original ones were damaged beyond repair, so the stonemasons have crafted these from new.
Restoring the tower has obviously been quite painful and difficult for us, raising the money, and the sheer disruption, but it has a silver lining. And that is that it did enable us to restore the shields and the clock faces.
A few minutes later, and incredibly, the end is in sight.
Okay, Russ.
The second set of batches have done their job, and in spite of the challenging conditions, the team has made very impressive time, completing the ascent in 40 minutes. A celebration is called for.
Yeah, mate.
But only a sip, as everyone still has to get safely down.
That's nice, got a white, that's nice.
Right.
Then it's time to enjoy a view Russ never thought he would see.
Can you see it?
I've seen the castle, I've seen the race course. I think that an experience like this just goes to prove that access to incredible views and incredible places aren't just the privilege of people with fully working bodies. It means that people like me can go and see things that everybody else can experience, and there just shouldn't be any barriers in life.
However, there are some places up here that even Greg can't get Russ to, so it's time for RiVR to step in with their tech.
RiVR stands for Reality in Virtual Reality, and we are experts in photogrammetry. The process of photogrammetry involves taking lots of photos, sometimes thousands of photos of any real-world object, person or place, and we put that into a digital world, and once you go into that virtual world, it is absolutely stunning.
So, what is photogrammetry? In a nutshell, it's a process that extracts 3D information from 2D photographs.
When we're doing the photogrammetry, it's important that when we take one photo, followed by the next photo, we make sure that there's 70% overlap between those photos. So the software recognises commonality in the images, stitches them all together, and then sees that object from every angle and makes you a 3D photorealistic asset.
And don't think that photogrammetry can only be used for small objects. With the help of a drone, it's possible to scan whole buildings, whole towns even. It's an opportunity that RiVR and St Mary's were eager to capitalise on.
We did an installation that was a 3D printed model of Warwick, which we scanned using 6,000 drone photos and put it into the museum around the corner. And now we're doing a similar project with the church. So we're going to have a 3D printed church from 1694. It's going to actually be the night before the Great Fire of Warwick, and it's going to be an augmented reality piece that sits in the middle of the church, drives footfall, but next to it are iPads. And you hold the iPads over the model and you get to see the history of the church through time and animation and stories of the people that were involved in the church.
So what does Russ think of all this?
So here I've got a 3D scan where we used photogrammetry to scan the shields before it was restored.
Okay.
But you can now, with your fingers, pinch and zoom and scan around and look at the actual detail of it before they restored it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And here's something else that's incredible, because thanks to RiVR, you can now get a taste of St Mary's from the comfort of your living room. No cost, no app, and no VR headsets are required. Just scan these QR codes with a smartphone or tablet and take a look around. To show you just how simple the process is, Alex got his mum to have a go.
Gosh, look at that. Oh, that is amazing, actually.
But photogrammetry isn't the only way to get up close and personal with St Mary's Church. This is the Leica RTC 360. A device that uses a laser rather than a camera lens to record the environment it's in. It works by measuring the time it takes for the laser to hit a surface and rebound back. And it doesn't hang around, because mapping a room like this takes just 2 minutes, during which it makes 2 million measurements per second. Although the Leica can scan in colour, it can't provide the texture that photogrammetry does. Nevertheless, this process has some advantages, because lasers can work in low light or even complete darkness. And there's no physical limit to what you can scan. However, if you use the Leica to chart the whole church, it would take days to constantly reposition it. Which is where this man and his clever toy comes in.
So this is a Faro Zeb Horizon scanner. It's a simultaneous localization and mapping device, or SLAM for short.
It uses the same basic technology as the Leica, but it's got an added trick up its sleeve. Because it can map on the move.
It uses an accelerometer and a gyroscope and things like that to work out where it is, but it also then takes the input from the laser sensor, puts all those bits of information together, and is able to work out where it is and map the environment in 3D. So thanks to this technology, I'm able to walk around a building like this and capture it in 1 or 2 hours.
The Faro might cost £40,000, but if you laser scan for a living, as Derek does, it's well worth the investment, particularly when you see the results.
So now you can use your fingers and just pan around this a little bit and look the other way.
Fantastic.
And all this photogrammetry and laser work has another very important use, because if any of the church's artefacts are damaged or destroyed, they can be recreated using the data, which is millimetre accurate.
It's like a 3D blueprint for the church in 2024. The possibilities are endless with the technology. I get excited about what could happen next.
3 months have passed since Russell's ascent of the tower. The restoration is now complete and the scaffolding stripped away. So St Mary's Church can once again bask in all its glory. Time for some of the team to reflect.
You know, you don't need to go to Oxford to see something fantastic. You can come here, your local church, and see the history of Warwick and this particular building.
And to see the shields and the clock faces newly repainted really, I think, reinforces the symbolism of the tower for Warwick.
I think it was a success for Russ. He managed to get up the tower. I think he enjoyed himself.
So when I got to the top, it felt like it was something that always was going to happen and where I was meant to be. And it was something that I'll never forget. Now that I've been up the church tower, I've definitely got an appetite for going to more places.
We'll see how high we can get you on the next trip.
That'd be fantastic.